Cape Chronicle. I'm Jacob McCleland. Construction continues at the casino site in downtown Cape Girardeau. Construction crews recently completed one of the big projects, the rerouting and reopening of Main Street. Dick Meister is the Vice President for Design and Construction at Isle of Capri Casino, and he's the guy that's in charge of the construction. He joins us now in the studio. Dick Meister, thank you so much for coming by to talk with us.
Thanks for having me, Jacob. Pleasure to be here.
Well, first off, we have this big basin is complete. Tell us, first of all, what's this basin about? What's this for?
Well, in Missouri, the casino floor is required to float. And you can either float on the river, or as we are doing, you can float in a basin within 1,000 feet of the river. Our basin's inside the levee, and we started construction of that back in August. The big news there was when we poured the basin bottom, which was about 2,398 cubic yards of concrete that we did overnight. And
that is a lot of concrete,
That is a lot of concrete, and we really appreciate everybody who let us bring all those trucks up and down Broadway and getting it done, and it worked out very well. Since then, we've poured about another 300 cubic yards on the basin walls, which were completed about 3 weeks ago. And today, we've got the precast concrete going in for the actual floating platform, and the northern third of that is done. The southern third is about halfway as of today. We'll start pouring that next week and should be substantially complete on the keel pour by Thanksgiving. So we're very excited about that.
Illustrate for us the process of getting that much concrete overnight to pour the base of that basin. How are you able to get that much concrete into one place at one time?
Well, we're very fortunate. I mean, you have Delta companies down here, and they did a marvelous job for us, working 3 batch plants simultaneously. We had about 42 trucks running at one time. So at any one intersection, within an hour's period, you had about 80 trucks going one way or the other. And it took us about 8 hours to pour the entire basin, but it worked out very well. And a lot of help from the Cape Girardeau Police Department and everybody else working with us, and it came off perfectly.
Now, when the casino is complete, will people be able to tell when they're walking onto that floating barge, or will it be a seamless transition going on?
It's an absolute seamless transition. The way the barge is built, it's actually retained in place, and when it's completed, it'll be just simply like walking from carpet onto a tile floor, so you'll never notice it's there.
Wow, that sounds. I mean, it's unbelievable to think about how that's gonna end up working out. But.
It is. It's a great engineering feat, and the folks that have worked with us, Coleman Design and Rodney Lay, who designed the barge for us, have done a fantastic job in making that a great building.
Well, tell us a little bit about the construction site itself here in Cape Girardeau. What are some of the challenges to building this structure right here on Cape Girardeau's riverbank?
Basically, there weren't a lot of challenges. We obviously had some underground when we were going through and building it initially, getting through the old Florsheim shoe factory and getting the site prepared. But once we've gone through that, it's pretty much been normal construction, and we've got a good sequence going. We've got a lot of good local contractors have been working with us. Fronabarger's been doing the Main Street, which we've opened back on the 20th of last month. Nip Kelly and tons of folks that I spent the rest of the conversation talking about it here locally in the Cape that have been helping us through the project, so it's been coming very well. And then our guys from the joint venture of Anderson and Wilson pulling the project together and managing it, so we're very excited about that.
Is the site pretty typical for some other places is it pretty similar to other places where you built casinos in the past?
It's somewhat similar. This one's a really nice site because it's inside the levee, so we're not going to be closing down if there's a flood condition or something like that, which is really great. It's a very unusual site from that perspective.
Tell us a little bit about the timeline, because this has all happened extremely rapidly. It seems like it was just a year and a half or so ago that voters were voting on this thing. Well,
actually, if you think about it, we came here in May of 2010, which was about 17 months ago. The election was a year ago this month, and the license wasn't awarded until December, so we're about 11 months into the project. Since then, we've completed Main Street. The site work is pretty well done. All the utilities are relocated. The basin's in place. We're starting to put in our parking lots and getting that out of the way. Our first section of foundations are in place, and I expect steel delivery to start on the project about the 9th of November, and hopefully the week of the 14th you'll actually see steel going up, and the building should be pretty well closed in, weather permitting. I always hate to say something going into the winter. You never know. You get 2 weeks of snow, it messes up everything. But quite frankly, we're hopeful that that building will be looking very good by the end of February.
Up at this point right now, is everything on schedule and on budget?
Everything is very, I hate to say on schedule because, again, I'm very superstitious about weather, but we're doing very well, and we're very comfortable with our opening date, and we're very comfortable with our budgets.
When is opening date? Do we have an idea yet?
We're still, we've always said that it would be in December of 2012, and that's the date we're still targeted for, and everything's looking good for that time frame.
Well, tell us a little bit about the time frame for starting to hire some folks here in Cape Girardeau. When will we start seeing a management team in place for Cape Girardeau?
I would think sometime before the end of the year you'll hear something about who's going to be running the property for us, and also in the same time frame we should be hearing something about where we're going to set up some temporary offices and prepare for hiring. The first part of next year we're going to be pulling together the management team itself, the top 4 or 5 positions, and after that we'll start the hiring and training process, which will go on throughout the summer, actually spring and summer, until we open next fall.
Now, is for the general manager for the local side here, would this be somebody locally, or could be somebody that's already internal in the company?
It's going to be someone that has quite a bit of gaming experience. Again, with casinos, these are licensed positions, and there's certain requirements that the state will look at before they license someone. So you just can't pull someone in from another industry and say, okay, we're going to make you the general manager. Probably will not qualify for the state license to do that. So it'll probably be an experienced, or will be an experienced casino executive. I just don't, at this point in time, don't know who it's going to be, whether it's going to be an internal candidate or an external. I'm hopeful it's an internal candidate. We'll just have to wait and see.
Now, tell us a little bit about some of the employees that are going to be brought on once the general manager is in place. Who's after that? What are some of the other positions that'll be filled?
Basically, it will be the operations and HR functions very early on. We'll get an HR office set up so people can come in and start looking at the types of jobs we have and start taking their skills and putting them together with opportunities we've got. And as we go through that, then we'll make determinations as to what type of training programs we're going to have to set up locally. We'll probably have a dealer's training program, whether we're going to have a slot tech program or some other programs. I don't know. It'll depend on who comes in and what type of skills they have in the local area. But we'll be very anxious to see that started, and I anticipate that'll be in the first quarter of next year.
The first quarter of next year.
Yes.
And how about for the rest of the positions, the gaming positions, for instance, or some of the folks on the floor?
That whole process would start in the first, starting to interview people, figure out who's going to come in, and then if we set up a gaming school, that's probably going to take a good 6 or 8 weeks of training before they would be able to apply for their license. And then there is a process that's unusual with the casino where we have to get all these folks licensed. So there's a time frame where they have to fill out their applications, get fingerprinted, get their pictures taken, and then the Missouri Gaming Commission does their background checks before they finally issue a license. And that whole process has to take place prior to the facility opening. So you just can't, unless you're already licensed in the state of Missouri, walk up and say, I'd like to be a dealer a week before opening. We just couldn't do that because of the licensing requirements. So we'll get that process started and start getting folks identified, see if they will looking for that type of position, and we'll go from there. But we're really excited to get that's really our next big step, is to start looking at employees, which we'll do right after the first of the year.
You mentioned the gaming school, and that would be to help folks get their license in order to be a dealer or whatnot in the casino. Okay.
Yes.
And would that be here in Cape Girardeau that the training would take place?
I'm very hopeful it'll be in Cape Girardeau. I'm looking for some office space now that hopefully has enough room for training and everything in one area. We'll just have to see how that comes out over the next few weeks.
That sounds kind of fun, gaming school.
Yeah, sounds like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to come in and join us.
So, what have you learned about Cape Girardeau since you've been here in town and have been working with the community? What is it that surprised you about this community?
What I've really been impressed about is it's a great community. Everyone's friendly. Everybody's helpful. It's easy to come in and talk to folks, and people have an honest interest in what we're doing and how things are coming along. And it's a very exciting town, and we really appreciate the way we've been accepted here, and we're looking forward to a very long and happy relationship. And the next big step is getting more folks coming to downtown.
Thank you very much. Dick Meister is Vice President of Design and Construction at Isle of Capri Casino. Thank you so much for dropping by to talk with us.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it much.
And thank you for watching Cape Chronicle. This is a collaboration between Southeast Missouri State University, KRCU, and the city of Cape Girardeau. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Jacob McCleland.
Appreciate it.